You're going to make mistakes. You are going to perhaps snap at people or come off defensive or always have a reason of why they're wrong and you're right. And it's yes, but you don't need to do that. Be okay with making a mistake. For the sheer fact that you're human and you're learning and you're growing, believe me, your partner will appreciate you so much more if they see you putting an effort into personal growth. Personal growth is actually executing the ways you want to change, like pushing through that, pushing through your fears, trying something different and seeing what that feels like. Not only will you realize I'm just a human being, but you'll also realize this part of connecting with myself feels really, really good. And that becomes addictive to really know yourself. Welcome to I Think I Can podcast. My name is Luella Young. I am a woman who believes that we, like wine, get better with age. Age brings us wisdom, intuition, and a level of sophistication that is beyond the reach of youth. I am here to tell you that living a luxuriously rich and fulfilling life is in your reach. I Think I Can podcast will teach you to think differently in order to get different results. Allow me to show you how to do life effortlessly. This podcast is for the woman who is tired of playing by the rules of society, community, religion, parents, and partners. I Think I Can is all about becoming brave, authentic, purposeful, and strong. Listen weekly and you will find yourself living a life you could have only once dreamed of. Thoughts drive our physiology, so channel your thoughts with me into a life truly worth living. Enjoy the show. Hello, welcome to episode number 39 of I Think I Can podcast. Today is a bit of a continuation of last week's episode where I just spoke, to you as an audience, and I sort of explained the way that I treat relationships. So, I can call it I was just thinking about this. I can call it, focusing on relationships, or I can call it more describing the work that I do is focusing on your dream or focusing or getting in touch with life's meaning. Why are we here? What is this life thing all about anyway? What do we really want out of life? And I think we have different versions in our head about what that is. But ultimately, I think all of us in the end, now, whether that's buying your dream home and living in a different country, or whether that is you and your partner retiring on a little hobby farm, or whether that's you being at a certain place in your career, you may not have relationships in the forefront of your dream, but think of it. Can you imagine reaching your dream and not having anybody to share it with? I think there's none of us that can say that, having a deep connection or connecting with others is part of life's meaning and purpose of why we're here. So even though throughout my many years of practice, I think in a sense that I haven't chosen to work on relationships. In fact, my preference would be to work with people individually, but it always comes back to a relationship issue. It's either the relationship you had with parents, it's either, a relationship that you're trying to develop, you're trying to find the perfect person, or it's a relationship that you're in and feel like you need to desperately get out of, or you want to salvage your relationship. So my my work is focused on relationships 100%. And I see it as a certain destination you want to get to in life. Reflecting again on your dream. Who do you want to be at a certain time of your life? Where are you going? What do you want out of life? But along that journey, and it's quite the journey, we are going to have roadblocks. We are going to have obstacles in our way that we need to fight off and overcome. And I see those roadblocks as sort of like the core main reasons why relationships are very unstable. And I went over that last week in episode 38. We went over that. I sort of kind of gave you a rundown of what those main core reasons are and what, how I go about my work. But in the future content that I create, I'm going to break it down even more. We're going to take one of those core reasons and we're going to break it down, because couples come into my office or a person comes to me, with a focus on I don't, like I said last week, they tell me it's communication. Well, yes, it is communication between, but it's because you and your partner have different perceptions of the topic. And you have those perceptions because of having past experiences. And you are the type of person you are today because of past experiences, partly genetic, mainly environmental. So let's take one of those characteristics. Let's take one of those personality traits. Let's take one of those beliefs that you have about yourself and dissect it and understand where it came from, how it's causing a problem in your relationship. What can you do to overcome that belief that you have? And I'll just give you examples of the way that I've worked with specific clients that have come in. So last week I spoke quite a bit about body image and body awareness, being overly consumed with this. Well, today I'm going to take another small piece of that perfectionism as being like one of the core main causes of your relationship not doing well and perhaps impeding with your lifelong goal of who you want to be, who you want to become, why you're here. So under perfectionism, we are going to talk about procrastination. Okay, so this has come up, in my office, and just to say quickly, the other things under perfectionism, I would say is competitiveness, trying to like a performance issue where you need to perform a certain way, or performance in a sport. You need to look a certain way, be a certain way, act a certain way. Someone being overly controlling I feel is a perfectionist issue. On someone being overly judgmental of others, because I always say if you're judgmental of others, you're judgmental of yourself. But let's just talk about procrastination, because I think a lot of people are very confused about procrastination. And I've seen it with, like, it was many years ago, but it was exactly this issue that a couple came into my office, and she, was like, okay, these things need to get done, and it was very obvious to her. And she was one of those people that just, checked off her boxes and got everything done. And it was very easy for her. She and obviously she had other things going on, but it definitely wasn't procrastination. But he was a real procrastinator. So what do, right? It's very easy to look at your partner who's struggling with procrastination and see them as being lazy. Let's face it, we probably do that with, even our children. They're procrastinating. You're so lazy. Like, just get it done, get it done, get it done. But there's a deeper underlying issue of procrastination. And I would say that that deeper issue would be one of fear of failure. You have a very difficult time executing, I should say something like that, executing the task at hand, because you could make a mistake and you could be wrong. And because of that, you're stuck. You want it, you want the change, you want this, whatever it might be, but you can't get it. And it's not always very obvious to that person. Obviously, I've procrastinated in my life. It's not the biggest, it's not the lowest hanging fruit for me. But at some point in my life, I'm sure I've procrastinated things just because I had fear of failure. So, what might this look like if I was to treat someone with procrastination in order for them to be more connected as a couple? So I would treat the individual, but you could see how this could be very skewed if the couple comes in and she starts pointing the finger and says, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he never does this, I do everything, da 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 da, and very critical of the other person. And he might turn towards her and he might say, you're constantly nagging at me, like you just don't know how to stop. You're just always controlling, you're telling me what to do all the time, yada 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 yada. And it's finger pointing. It's so common in couples. I mean, they come in with really, really good intentions and they're saying, we don't know how to communicate with each other. But if we can just fix this one underlying limiting belief about the one person, then the relationship is going to get so much better. So if I was to work with, let's say, this man who has debilitating procrastination, it might be like, I can't remember the exact things, but I think one of the things was he needed to complete a course. I think he was an accountant. So it's not like, this guy was dumb or anything. He was an accountant, but he needed to complete certain courses in order to get higher in his skills. I can't remember if that's chartered accounting or whatever it was. But and he would start it and start it and stop it, like maybe the course, or else he would actually, I think he actually lied that he was doing it. And then she found out that he wasn't. or his marks were terrible and he kept it from her. So obviously, then this can be turned into a whole nother thing where, oh my gosh, my partner is completely dishonest. Honesty is part of my moral values. How can we ever live together if he's lying to me? And da 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 da. So we got to pull the reins in here and have a really deep talk and connection and ask, what would it be that caused you um, to be dishonest with me? And of course, that person has to open up and describe his deep feelings. But often I work with people that don't even know. They don't even know how they feel. They don't know how they feel. They don't know how to read their emotions. Any given time of the day. They're not aware of their thoughts and their feelings at any given time of the day. They're way too much in their head. So to ask your partner, I need you to talk to me. I need you to express your feelings to me. I need you to get very vulnerable with me. That's asking him like that's asking him to run the marathon when all he can do is possibly do the first mile. So if when working with someone like that, we would say, okay, what's something you want to get done? And let's say he wants to build the deck. That's something that he's promised to his wife. It's something that he loves the idea of having a new deck and sitting out on the deck, late in the evening. But for some reason, it's just not getting done. So what's a small thing? I can't just say to that person, just get it done. Just it seems so obvious, right? Like it's can I go along with you? Like sometimes a partner will say that too, like let's go to this and let's pick out, a plan and let's pick out the mall. And it's not really any of that. It's more what we go back to why you're fearing possibly making a mistake as you build the deck. Like where did this come from? Where did this mindset of fearing mistakes come from? And we start talking about, whether that's parental influences, whether that they had a dad that was a perfectionist and their dad was, also excellent woodworker. And so it could be something simple as that. Like, I mean, it could be that I know my dad's going to come over and he's going to look at once we start getting in the thick of things, this kind of stuff comes out. And it's perhaps they were scrutinized and criticized incessantly, like when they were a young child, about it never being good enough. So when working with someone like that, then I would like really break it down into the micro goals. So what might it be like to just draw up a plan? Or if that's even too scary for them, what might it be like to make a trip to the construction store or whatever and just pick out the type of lumber you'd want to use, or start talking to a salesperson there about, what are the trends now in decks, or maybe picking up some magazines about, whatever. We decide that together. I definitely don't tell you what your micro goal is, because who am I to say what your micro goal is? I don't know you. A micro goal is something that you are going to get uncomfortable doing, but not to the point that it's like debilitating. It's almost like if you have a fear of heights, I'm not going to ask you to climb a ladder, 10 stories high. I'm going to maybe ask you to put your foot on the first step or two, and then look down. It's really, really individual, and that's not for me to decide, because only you have the response of of what it's going to feel like when you do that micro goal. Is it going to hit you in the pit of your stomach? Is it going to make your palms sweat? Is it going to make you spiral down? Is it going to stop you from sleeping? What's so simple to one person is so difficult to another. But you decide that. And what's exciting about this is that when you actually achieve that small goal, like you're like, wow, you get addicted to achieving those tiny little goals that's going to project you forward, 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 forward. And it's going to be getting easier and easier and easier and easier. So it might be, yeah, it could be that. It could be picking a paint color out. Well, I can do that. They might say that's not hard. Okay. If that's too easy, then tell me what's too hard. And then once, I sort of have that gauge to go by, let's try to pick something in the middle. So that might be, 1 week's worth of homework for you is to get to that stage. So the whole point of this, though, is that you're moving ahead. You're not stuck anymore. You're actually moving. You're gaining momentum. And of course, your spouse sees this. Of course, your partner sees this. And your partner's probably giddy with excitement. The fact that you're actually making some sort of moves. And, might I just say, too, that if I was working with someone like that, and I would even I might be sharing what we're doing in a couple session at one point, they might be saying, I tried that. Oh, but you know what? Hey. Like sometimes hearing it from another person, it might have a whole different effect on that person, because they associate. I always say, like, you hurt the people the most that you love the most. So they don't want to feel you. Perhaps if it's something negotiated between that person and myself, and they come back saying, wasn't able to do it, Luella, it was too much, then it might be less of a risk, right? So there's that to think about too. Now, so we start with small goals, and whatever way you get ahead, your partner can never criticize, use contempt or anything like that. Oh, that's okay, but why didn't you do it like that? Or whatever it is. It's sort of, as a partner, you got to support your partner as they go through these small goals, right? And maybe you can have that conversation with your partner, or we can have that conversation together. So part of moving through your goals, there's certain tools in my toolbox. Like I'm not just one that creates micro goals, obviously. That's not my job. The powerful tools I have in my toolbox is suggesting certain things that you could do maybe on a daily basis in terms of thought awareness. And what does that look like? It's sort of like I said, being aware of what you're thinking. If you're not feeling good in the moment, why are you not feeling good in the moment? Rather than suppressing that thought and maybe choosing a different behavior so you're not in your thoughts. I mean, so you're not in that bad feeling. What might it be like to not choose a different behavior and just kind of reflect on that thought and kind of go, where did that thought come? Where did that icky feeling come from? Oh, that came from this thought I was having. What thought am I having? Oh, okay. Turns out that, I feel, I don't know, today I feel a little bit off because yesterday I don't know, it could even be something simple like I had a horrible sleep, or I pushed myself so hard yesterday at work that I'm just exhausted today and I'm just feeling like low energy and But again, that's no reason to um let's say snap at your partner or something like that. That's just sort of like, okay, I'm aware of what's going on. And maybe it has a like it could be that you show up at, you know, you come home and you say, you know what, I'll let you know right now, like it's nothing that you're going to say tonight or do or whatever, but I really got a low energy going on, like potentially low fuse. So I'm just going to spend a lot of the evening by myself. That's so much better than rushing home and snapping at your partner. It's like this work is all about reflection of your thoughts. And you might say, oh my gosh, well, that sounds so deep. That sounds so, but it's not. It's sort of like, I feel this way because of this. Now, and as we get better and better at that, I will also teach you how to, change that thought in the moment, change that feeling in the moment. So it could be using something like visualization, maybe just getting quiet with your thoughts and visualizing what you want. Maybe you sit down and close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and visualize that deck already being done. Just taking some quiet time for yourself, being very mindful of how you're showing up. See what this does is that you're a human being. You're going to make mistakes. You are going to perhaps snap at people or come off defensive or always have a reason of why, they're wrong and you're right. And it's yes, but you don't need to do that. Like you can just like be okay with making a mistake, because just for the sheer fact that you're human and you're learning and you're growing. Believe me, your partner will appreciate you so much more if they see you putting an effort into personal growth. And that doesn't mean buying a bunch of self-help books. I think I mentioned this last time. That to me is not personal growth. Personal growth is actually executing the ways you want to change, like pushing through your fears, trying something different and seeing what that feels like. And you'll not only will you realize I'm just a human being, but you'll also realize this part of connecting with myself feels really, really good. And that becomes addictive, to really know yourself and honor yourself becomes very, very empowering, actually. Very, very empowering. And you get better and better and better at describing your feelings and taking the time to reflect back on your behaviors and how you conducted that conversation. So as I mentioned, there might be some thought awareness going on as much as you can throughout the day. It might be using some visualization. It might be, and when you're triggered, then I think you have to think about like what was it that got to me so badly? What was it within me what is it about me as a person that made me react that way, that made me respond that way? Because I think most people don't like getting triggered. Most people don't like reacting. They rather respond. They rather speak from their feelings, and and no one likes to hurt somebody else. sometimes when you react, you say things that are really, really hurtful. And most people carry a lot of regret about that. Um, so we would love to be able to regulate our emotions, right? And the pathway to regulating our emotions is getting in tune with our feelings and our thoughts. So finding out where this fear lies in procrastination, where did that come from? And is this a roadblock towards me becoming the person that I want to be, this version of myself that I want to be? Or or is it not a roadblock? Am I able to still achieve where I want to go with being someone who procrastinates? I don't think so. I don't think so. So, and part of this too, like you have to be okay with asking for help. So what that might look like in a partnership is, you know, maybe letting your partner know that it, again, this is sort of done in stages too. It might be too much to say like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is the kind of person I am. I have a big fear of making mistakes. I mean, you don't want to lay it all the line right there, but just say, just so you know, my plan, I really want to get this deck done. Um, and I will get it done. But I need to do it, you know, in- with my pace, for example. And you might want to give some sort of indication. Again, everybody wants to kind of know like a timeline for things, just to say, oh, I'm going to talk to you about it some other day. Well, when is some other day? It's very important to let your partner know that they can trust you and that you're going to come back and provide this deck to them at some point. So just say, this is my intention is to have it built by this date. And, I'm going to do something each week that that propels me into getting this deck done. And then you might want to add like, or ask, do you want to support me with this? And I'm sure the person would say, well, sure, this would be great. What can I do to support you there? Don't well, you shouldn't say the word nag, but don't nag me. Don't ask me every second day, how are you doing with your little goal or your micro goal, or where are you at? It's sort of like, maybe define to them, that's how I need you to, support me by trusting me and knowing that my intention is to get this done. Not scrutinizing them with, oh, well, you went golfing Tuesday night. Surely, you have your priorities all messed up. And no, no, that's being very judgmental. So it's really important to help your partner who wants to become a better version of themselves, to help them with their little goals. What can you do to help them achieve their little goals? And vice versa, of course. If your partner is working on something else, like, how can I be supportive? Let's say you know, you could go to all different reasons of why you deserve this new deck and why it's been 5 years of, looking at this eyesore in the yard, or saying, this is dangerous for the kids and he's done nothing about it. And all these different, like, you can justify yourself, up and down. But the truth is that he's decided today that this is something he wants to change. And so don't get stuck in the past. Support your partner and say from this day onward, I'm going to work with you in order to achieve your small goals. And then, you sort of do it as a team and see if that sort of, helps them and resonates with that. So moving towards your micro goal, really springboards you to your next goal and your next goal and your next goal. And the fear of failure becomes less of reality because you actually see that, even if you didn't attain the goal that week, you see that the relationship hasn't fallen apart. You still want to, your final goal is still important to you, but you also realize that, I might have a little bit more work to do. Like, why wasn't I able to achieve my micro goal that I established? And again, a lot of this is reflecting on yourself as an individual. A lot of it is inner work. So I guess I want you to also see that, when you look at your partner, you know that they're not going to be perfect. Like when you pick out that lifelong partner for yourself. I mean, no one's perfect, but are they willing to look inside themselves and do the work that they need? Because we all need to do some work. But, I also don't want you to kind of look at your partner and feel that they don't have the possibility of looking inward. I would argue with that. I think everyone has the potential to look inward. It's just that some might have more environmental influence than others, right? Like if they come from a family of origin where no one talked about their feelings, no one said I love you, no one just, like, I don't know, talking about your feelings was just such a, like, that just didn't happen in your family. But everybody's a human being and everybody does have feelings and everybody does have emotions. And usually when you give that person the opportunity to talk about their feelings and their emotions, they can. So again, don't label your partner as, don't ever tell your partner something like, I know you better than you know yourself, or I know him so well, or I know her so well. That's not true. No one knows you like you know yourself. So just be honest with yourself and 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 look inside yourself and ask yourself the question, what is it about this procrastination that just debilitates me? Why I have all these great intentions every day, and at the end of the day I go into a mode of sadness, and I don't like myself because I didn't get anything done. um it's like, then you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole, rather than looking at yourself and just saying, these are the things I know I need to look at. They've been stopping me from getting what I want out of life, and I want to change. It's time I change. I see what this is doing in terms of my, my long-term goal. I see how this is affecting my relationship. And I don't want to do life like this anymore. So hopefully it doesn't take a person, um, you know, I'll, I'll speak about how health can be one of the proponents of, one of the main causes of, an unstable relationship. But we don't want something happening to you, in terms of your health, and whether that be a disease or where your lifespan looks much shorter, to make the changes that you need to, right? I'm sort of talking about um, on your deathbed, looking back on your deathbed and kind of going, oh, I wish why didn't I do that? If I only um, why wasn't I kinder? Why? We don't want that. We don't want to have a health scare be the reason for you to do the reflection, um, and to perhaps have done things differently. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this just looking at this one little tiny thing of procrastination, how that can affect a relationship very strongly, and to give you some idea of where you might be able to begin with a whole procrastination. It's that person looking, taking the time, looking inside themselves, reflecting on how much of the day do I feel happy with myself, or do I feel joy in myself? And if it's not at 80% of the day, why is that? It's perhaps because you're disappointing other people around you, but you're mainly disappointing yourself, of course. And to make the decision that I'm tired of living this way, and I really want to change. I really want to do the work. So the tools I mentioned to do that, you can start today. You can start reflecting on your feelings. Every half hour, I'm just going to think, where am I at now? Where am I at now? Where am I at now? And trying to be more in the present, I feel nature gets you in the present. You're in awe of nature. You just kind of stop. You might be doing more meditation, mindfulness work, slowing down everything so that you can be in the present. You might practice more visualization work or a vision board, focusing your thoughts on your goal. And that's what helps you get the courage. You want this so badly that you're willing to be uncomfortable, knowing that each bit of uncomfortableness is going to put you forward towards where you want to go, and have that deep connection with your lifelong partner, because they're going to be extremely proud of you, of course. But again, you don't need anybody else to tell you that. You're going to feel it inside, and you're going to become addicted to that. It's going to be like a drug. Imagine how great that is. Like, it's not so much dopamine hits. I mean, the dopamine hits could probably be the small micro goals that you're getting, but it's the overwhelming feeling of contentment and happiness. It's that, it's that marinating in that serotonin. Like, I mean, I just feel joyful. I'm just happy. I'm just happy. So, but happiness comes from looking inside. Happiness comes from the inside out. Okay. All right. I hope that was helpful. And like I said, I'll do a series of these tiny little problems, roadblocks, bumps in the road. We can think of the 6 or 7 main problems of why we have unstable relationships as being roadblocks, but then bumps in the road, like would be these, like under perfectionism is a roadblock. Under perfectionism might be being overly judgmental as a person, being very controlling as a person, needing to be extremely competitive, always having to win in sports or in work. Procrastination is what we talked about today, would be a roadblock. I mean, a bump in the road. And I think that's about it right now that I can think of falling under perfectionism. Okay. So have a wonderful week, and hopefully I will have you back next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.